Right now on Morning News Now, more fallout following the death of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. This morning, President Biden preparing to announce major sanctions against Russia.
Responsible for Navalny's death, it is now more clear than ever what the stakes are in Ukraine.
All this just days before we mark 2 years since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And in the Middle East, tension rising as the U.S. vetoes the UN's call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. We'll bring you the latest. Also this morning, an unprecedented ruling renewing the debate over reproductive rights in America. We'll break down the decision by the Alabama Supreme Court that frozen embryos are children and how it could have impacts far beyond state lines. Plus, new details about a major merger involving two big credit card companies. We'll tell you about the multi-billion-dollar deal and what it could mean for your wallet. And it's her time. New this morning, Time magazine is out with this year's edition of Women of the Year. We'll flip through the list with Time's deputy editor.
Little hint there at who might be on the
there you
cover.
go,
A little 2023 Barbie moving into 2024 here. Good to have you with us on a Wednesday. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. We begin this hour at the White House, which is preparing to announce new measures in response to the death of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny.
President Biden told reporters yesterday the U.S. will unveil a new major package of sanctions against Russia on Friday. President Biden has previously blamed Navalny's death on President Putin. The State Department later added the sanctions were also in response to the Ukraine war, which is now approaching the 2-year mark.
We will be announcing a major sanctions package on Friday to hold Russia accountable for Navalny's death in prison and for its actions over the course of the vicious and brutal war they have waged in Ukraine for the past 2 years. We also renew our call for Congress to pass the National Security Supplemental Funding Bill, both to enable Ukraine and its people to defend against the ongoing invasion, and also to advance U.S. national security interests.
NBC News senior White House reporter Peter Nicholas joins us now. So, Peter, what more can you tell us about this package of sanctions, and do we know what could be included in these latest measures?
Well, we know from White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan that the sanctions will be hard-hitting, striking at the Russian industrial base and the revenue sources that are important to Russia's economy. We also have some indications that the sanctions will be targeted at Russia's war-making capability, which would potentially weaken Russian forces on the battlefield against Ukraine.
Does the White House believe Navalny's death could spur Congress to pass that national security bill, which includes military aid to Ukraine that's been held up?
Yes, I think the White House is hopeful that the Navalny murder could be a catalyst for getting congressional Republicans on board here and support a package for Ukraine. Navalny's death does illustrate what's at stake in the 2-year-old war between Russia and Ukraine. Biden has said that Putin is responsible for the death of the opposition leader, demonstrating political repression in Putin's regime and showing what it would mean if an independent democracy like Ukraine were to fall under Putin's dominion.
So we're seeing this sort of debate play out with the top two candidates who could be up for a rematch here in 2024. We understand at a fundraising event in L.A. yesterday, President Biden criticized former President Trump for his response to Navalny's death. What did he have to say about that?
Well, Biden talked about Trump's response to Navalny's death. Trump issued a statement on social media which actually did not mention Vladimir Putin's name. So this plays into the Biden's message, which is essentially that Trump can't be trusted to stand up to Vladimir Putin, that for some reason he has some sort of admiration for Putin and other autocrats for that matter. And this shows what's at stake in the election. Biden has just framed it as an election that will decide between autocracy and democracy. And so he sees Navalny's death as playing into that and demonstrating that Trump can't even bring himself to fault Putin for the death of a prominent opposition leader.
All right. Peter Nicholas. Peter, thank you.
Now to the Middle East, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is pushing back against calls for a ceasefire, saying Israel would not pay any price for the return of the remaining hostages. This comes after the U.S. rejected a UN Security Council resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The United States was the only country to veto the Arab-backed proposal, saying it would have jeopardized the ongoing hostage negotiations. The U.S. has drafted a rival resolution calling for a temporary ceasefire as soon as practicable. The resolution also warns against Israel launching an offensive in Rafah. All this comes as the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is worsening, with nearly 200 babies born into war each day. For more, we are joined by NBC News foreign correspondent Molly Hunter in Jerusalem. Hi, Molly. Good morning.
Savannah, good morning. Excuse me. That's right. The U.S. vetoed that widely supported resolution yesterday, arguing that a temporary ceasefire versus an immediate ceasefire would expedite both hostage release, but also the delivery of humanitarian aid. It was widely criticized in the international community, especially in this region. But Savannah, as of this morning, critical humanitarian aid is still not reaching the people that need it most. Take a look.
Those against?
The U.S. once again standing by Israel, vetoing a widely supported UN Security Council resolution which calls for an immediate ceasefire.
Proceeding with a vote today was wishful and irresponsible.
Instead, proposing a rival draft which calls for a temporary ceasefire as part of hostage negotiations. But the diplomatic wrangling has failed to stop the war for Gaza's most vulnerable. The UN estimates there are 50,000 pregnant women in Gaza, with nearly 180 babies born every day. Our team meets 30-year-old Sama Hajjaj in Rafah. She's 8 months pregnant with no prenatal care, no vitamins, no fruits and vegetables, she says, no clean water. She's worried her baby is already seriously harmed. I'm worried, she says, I will give birth right here in a tent. It's no place for a baby. But nearby, Miriam Ahlol rocks 15-day-old Razan. Miriam walked out of the hospital just 2 hours after birth. I hoped I would die, she says. They've killed our motherhood. In the occupied West Bank, we speak with Dr. Najib Salama, who says the biggest risk is where labor starts. And with extreme shortages of antibiotics and pain medications, infections are almost inevitable.
How dangerous, in your assessment, is it to be pregnant in Gaza today?
You're going always to be concerned about your pregnancy, to provide yourself and your baby with the best medical service.
Back at the Emirati Maternity Hospital in Rafah, it doesn't stop. 4 babies to an incubator, and these are the lucky ones.
Savannah, now women told our team in Gaza some of them had not eaten in days. Some of them had not felt their babies kick in weeks. Now, Dr. Salama, who we met in Beit Jala in the occupied West Bank, also spoke about the psychological toll, the anxiety, the stress, the terror, combined with no safe place to give birth, no prenatal or postnatal care. He said it is unbelievably dangerous. He described it as a nightmare. Savannah?
All right, Molly Hunter, thank you so much.
This morning in London, lawyers representing the U.S. government are presenting their arguments in the extradition appeal hearing of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. Assange is wanted by the U.S. for disclosing secret military records in 2010 and 2011, including some that exposed alleged U.S. war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan. His legal team set out its case yesterday, calling the U.S. prosecution, quote, politically motivated, and saying his health and safety would be at risk if he were to be extradited. NBC News international correspondent Josh Letterman's at the High Court in London. So, Josh, day 2 of this hearing now underway. What are the arguments being made by the legal team representing the U.S. government?
Well, as you can see, Joe, the heavy rain here in London today has not kept Assange's supporters from coming out in full force outside the court. Inside the court, the U.S. government is making the argument that Assange's legal team has completely distorted the case by saying that he is simply being prosecuted for doing what journalists do every day. They say the U.S. case against Assange is going to focus on computer hacking and intrusion, how he conspired with Chelsea Manning to use passwords that did not belong her, to hack into government systems and steal classified information. He says the legal team for the U.S. says that there's no journalist who considers that a part of their work. And the U.S. is also arguing that there was irreparable harm done to Americans whose names and identities were exposed in those documents that Assange published and released several years ago.
So, Josh, let's look back to yesterday, the case brought by Assange's legal team. One of the biggest allegations they made was they have evidence of a CIA plot during Trump's presidency to kidnap or assassinate Assange. Tell us about that and just some of the other arguments that they're putting forward.
Right, and obviously it would not be part of the treaty that allows the UK to extradite someone to the U.S. if they were going to potentially be killed by the government that is seeking their extradition. And so that's why they're bringing this up. This all has to do with a report that came out about 4 years ago in Yahoo News that said that under the Trump administration, then CIA Director Mike Pompeo and the White House plotted to potentially assassinate or at least try to kidnap Assange because they were very upset about the Vault 7 disclosures about CIA computer hacking tools. Now, the CIA at the time declined to comment on those allegations, and the State Department asked about this again yesterday, also said they would not comment, Joe.
So, Josh, how long before we could get a decision here? What happens next?
Well, we don't know. It's possible that at the end of this hearing today, just a few hours from now, the judge could rule on the spot about whether this extradition could go forward. Or the judge could say, I'm going to take all of this evidence, consider it, and issue a ruling at some later date. But once that ruling comes down, if Assange is not granted a full appeal, we could see him put on a plane to the U.S., extradited to stand trial in the United States within weeks or even days, Joe.
All right. Josh Letterman in London. Josh, thank you.
Turning now to Florida and a tragic accident in Lauderdale-by-the-Sea. Officials say a girl has died and a boy was hospitalized after being trapped in a sand hole. According to witnesses, the two kids were digging a large hole when they were pulled under as the sand collapsed. Now, despite beachgoers trying to dig them out, when the fire rescue team arrived at the scene, the girl was not breathing. The boy is in stable condition at Broward General Medical Center. The sheriff's office says the investigation is ongoing.
Now to the fallout surrounding the Alabama Supreme Court ruling that says frozen embryos can be considered children under state law.
It comes after a group of patients filed wrongful death suits after another patient allegedly destroyed their frozen embryos by dropping them. Experts say the controversial ruling leaves many questions for IVF clinics and their patients.
Let's try and dig into some of those questions this morning. We have Dr. Lucky Seacon joining us on set. She's a double board certified REI and OBGYN at RMA of New York Fertility Clinic. We also have NBC News Now legal analyst Angela Senadella here as well.
That's right. Thank you both for joining us. Dr. Seacon, I'll start with you. I mean, I know that much of your work is in a fertility clinic. I'm just wondering your reaction to this, first of all. Were you surprised? What do you make of this?
I was surprised because this seemed to be like a civil matter where embryos are regarded as property, and you don't typically hear of embryos being regarded as minors or children. And my reaction was that this is problematic because we don't know how, if and how it could be applied to, how IVF is done in the state of Alabama, and we worry about the limitations that it could pose.
Let's talk about the legal stuff here. A lower court initially ruled no, a frozen embryo is not an actual person, but then the Alabama State Supreme Court says, yes, it is. What was the reasoning for the Alabama Supreme Court here, and what does this mean right now for people who want to get fertility treatment?
So even though this ruling said nothing to do with a parent's own rights over their own frozen embryos, I think that's where the biggest impact lies. Because as Dr. Seacon said, prior to this ruling, property under the eyes of the law was considered, frozen embryos were considered property under the eyes of the law. And that means that if somebody else accidentally or intentionally destroyed a frozen embryo, then you could sue for property damage. They could be prosecuted for property damage. But now, under this ruling, that property has become a human with the protections of the U.S. Constitution. That means literally your rights of what you can do with what was previously your own property have gone out the window, and they now have the rights of life, of liberty, and to be protected.
Dr. Seacon, obviously, many families have chosen to take this route. I mean, I'm personally interested in potentially freezing my eggs. I'm working on some stories on it right now. And it's a very common conversation that you start to recognize. You want to freeze your eggs if you have a partner. Do you want to freeze embryos? And you just kind of think of it as this step on the way to planning a family in the long term.
Yes.
So what does this mean for so many families and women who have taken this step? And how do you think this changes fertility treatments or conversations in doctors' offices?
Well, a lot of what we do is trying to overcome the inefficiency of human reproduction. And people who have gone through IVF and experts like myself who are very close to this know all too well that it's not a one-to-one ratio. Fertilized eggs don't always turn into a baby. A lot of eggs don't even turn into an embryo, and a lot of embryos don't have reproductive potential. And even if they're deemed to be healthy by genetic testing, many of them don't implant. So the whole purpose of IVF is it's a numbers game. You want to start off with as many as you possibly can in the hopes that you'll end up with at least one healthy embryo with reproductive potential. So the concern that a lot of patients in IVF centers in Alabama have is that if embryos are regarded as children, what does that mean? Are they going to be mandated potentially to keep them in storage indefinitely? That would drive up the cost of IVF, making it inaccessible. And will there be a tendency then to fertilize fewer eggs and drive down the success and increase the number of cycles that families need to build their families? We're trying to make IVF more accessible in our field, and this could have the opposite effect.
Absolutely.
Angela, there are people obviously who disagree with this ruling. What are their options now? Is this something that could end up before the U.S. Supreme Court, or where would this go from here?
Certainly they could petition, but the Supreme Court has a choice to either take it or not. And in this case, it's not clear that they will, because with Dobbs, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, each state now has the opportunity to determine where they believe personhood begins. And in the state of Alabama and in many others, they've determined it starts with fertilization. So at that point, states have their own jurisdiction.
So right now, this is just impacting Alabama. It wouldn't impact any other states, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Dr. Lucky Sekhon, Angela Sanadella, thank you both very much. Important conversation.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, the Biden administration wiping out more than $1 billion more of student debt. The announcement made just this morning, and what borrowers should know.
Up first, after the break, trailing behind but not backing down. We'll take you to South Carolina, where Nikki Haley is hoping to gain some ground against Donald Trump in this weekend's presidential primaries.
And after days of rain and flooding concerns across the West, drier skies are in the forecast. We'll tell you when they'll finally see some relief after the break.
Welcome back. South Carolina voters will head to the polls on Saturday for that state's Republican primary.
And while Nikki Haley continues to trail in the polls in her home state behind former President Donald Trump, she says she's staying in the race regardless of the weekend's results. NBC News correspondent Garrett Hake has the latest on the state of the race.
Nikki Haley says she's digging in for a long campaign to come, with her pivotal home state primary days away.
South Carolina will vote on Saturday, but on Sunday, I'll still be running for president. I'm not going anywhere.
The former South Carolina governor and Trump administration UN ambassador vowing to stay in the race despite losing the first three early primary states and facing daunting Palmetto State polls that show her getting walloped by GOP frontrunner Donald Trump by a nearly 2-to-1 margin. Haley arguing former President Trump is the only Republican whom President Biden can defeat, and that the country desperately needs new leadership.
Trump and Biden are two old men who are only getting older.
Growing emotional, speaking about her husband Michael, a National Guard officer deployed in Africa and a recent target of Trump mockery.
I wish Michael was here today, and I wish our children and I could see him tonight, but we can't.
The Trump campaign releasing a new ad attacking Haley over her tax policies as governor.
Let's increase the gas tax by 10 cents over the next 3 years.
Even as top Trump campaign officials argued to reporters in a memo that Haley has no mathematical path to the nomination and should be ignored as irrelevant and not newsworthy. Haley's political math problems only get worse after South Carolina votes Saturday. 19 states will hold their nominating contests in the next 2 weeks, and there are no public polls that show Haley leading Trump in any of them.
All right, Garrett, thank you.
A programming reminder, we will have full coverage of the South Carolina GOP primary this weekend, led by our colleague Hallie Jackson. Our coverage gets underway Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific, right here on NBC News Now. West Coast is about to get some welcome relief today after days of heavy rain.
Yeah, they need it. Angie Lastman joins us now in studio with your forecast. Hey, Angie.
Hey, good morning, guys. Some relief on the way, some drier days on the way for our friends in California, but we've still got a couple of flood alerts up, and we've still got potentially some scattered showers to deal with today before we really start to see things drying out. Many of these flood alerts have come down, but still 27 million people included in these from Fresno to Santa Barbara and down through San Diego. And notice what you see there, a flash flood warning warning, that's going to stay in effect through basically the morning hours, Pacific time for Los Angeles and out towards the coast. We've already seen some of these kind of big batches of moisture working through into the overnight hours. This will slowly start to wrap up, and we'll see some improvements, especially for Southern California and Central California. But notice what happens by later today. We still are dealing with some of these scattered showers from NorCal up through Washington and Oregon. So we'll pick up some additional rain for folks across that region. Also, the system that we've been tracking eventually works out over parts of the Rockies. That's where we're going to see some additional snowfall, maybe some difficulty with travel across those mountain roads. But otherwise, we'll finally start to see some quieter conditions for California. Meanwhile, across the country, really mild conditions, and I mean really mild. We've got temperatures running 20 to 30 degrees above normal in a lot of spots across the Midwest. We've got the potential for some record highs across portions of the South. The East is sunshine everywhere. I mean, gorgeous kind of days, even with our temperatures in the 30s, 40s across the Northeast. Still going to be pretty nice with all of that sunshine. Meanwhile, as we look ahead to tomorrow, we start to get some more rain and potentially snow back into the picture. We've got a system that's going to work across parts of the Midwest. It'll bring mostly the rain and snow to portions of the Ohio Valley for tomorrow. But you can see as we get into the later parts of your Thursday, a bit of that wintry mix starts to work into portions of the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic here. As we get into Friday, we'll see some of those showers impacting folks for their early morning commute. And of course, the Northeast will see some of that as well. The Great Lakes and interior New England, that's where we'll see potentially some snowfall. It doesn't look all that impressive, but still it could make travel a little difficult for the end of our work week. As far as the rain is concerned, picking up maybe a half an inch in the higher spots, maybe an inch. Doesn't look like anything crazy, but still, again, could slow you down for that early morning commute. And looking ahead to the weekend, of course, the best time of the week, we've got that wet snow and kind of the soggy conditions hugging the east, but look how great it looks for the rest of the country for Friday. We wrap up our work week with really mild highs again across the midsection of the country. It'll finally be sunny and mild out in California and points north of there. We'll see plenty of sunshine for most of the country, and that takes us really into Saturday. I mean, this is a pretty good forecast for a Saturday across the country. Lots of sunshine. We've got warm temperatures. These temperatures in places like Texas as we get into Saturday, they'll be into the mid-70s. We've got plenty of sun expected across California, of course, continuing to dry out. And wrapping up our weekend, near record highs once again. We could see 70s, 80s across portions of the South. We'll see places like Chicago into the 50s and well into the 50s. Those temperatures running 10, 15, even 20 degrees above normal for this time of year. And then, of course, we'll see a little more of that rain and snow working into parts of the Pacific Northwest, guys. Back over to you.
Not too shabby.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll take that forecast. Thanks,
Thank you, Angie. Time for our weekly medical checkup. This week, we're diving into a new study that found that women may reap more benefits from regular exercise than men.
Plus, if you can't seem to find time to hit the gym during the week, research suggests there may be a way to cram in some exercise so you can still shed some pounds. We've got NBC News medical fellow Dr. Akshay Syal on set with us now with the details on those studies and more. Always great to see you, doctor. Thanks for being here. So this new study from the National Institutes of Health found when it comes to exercise, women may reap more health benefits than men, even when they put in the same effort. This is hard for me to believe, but explain this.
Good news for our ladies out there, yes. So this study, guys, was an NIH study. They looked at over 400,000 women, and they wanted to see, you know, we've always wondered, we tell men and women to do the same thing. The exercise recommendations are kind of blanket across both sexes, and we wondered, you know, is that really the best way? Do we need to fine-tune these a little bit? And what they found, guys, I have some numbers here I'll just read to you. With 2.5 hours a week, or about 150 hours a week of moderate exercise, reduced the risk of dying for women by 24%, compares to 15% for men. It also decreased the risk of heart attack and stroke by 36% for women, 14% for men.
Oh, wow.
And here's my favorite. They found that the risk of dying can be, or lower risk of dying can be as high as 18% with 5 hours of exercise for men, or just 2 hours for women. So not only are they getting a decreased heart attack and stroke risk, they also have to put in less effort to get the same benefit. And that, I thought, was my favorite part. So bringing us to our doctor's orders here. And this is something we hear all the time. You know, I can't hit those guidelines. Why should I even bother? Every bit counts, especially we can see for our female audience out there. You don't necessarily have to hit all of those, we think. And, you know, just try to get as much as you can. Try to work in as much as you can. Make it fun, if you know, play a game, that sort of thing, too.
Let's stick with this theme of exercising less, if at all possible. So oftentimes we think, okay, we want to work out all week long and consistently. But there's research for the weekend warriors, for people maybe work out once or twice a week, that it might be just as good. Might be just as good as people who do it all the time?
It might be just as good, exactly. So, Joe, they took thousands of people and they put them in these bone density scans, and sort of where we can see how much belly fat you have, how big your waist is, that sort of thing. And what they found was that, those 150, you can see here on your screen, 150 minutes per week of moderate exercise or 75 minutes per week of vigorous exercise.
Oh, so it has to be vigorous.
Well, it can be vigorous. Or, a lot of people on that
qualifies?
Note. Exactly. It's a good question. Moderate exercise can be as simple as brisk walking. It doesn't have to be, running a half marathon, jogging a half marathon, that sort of thing.
What about the other one?
Vigorous exercise, you want to be going uphill at least if you're going to be walking or biking fast. But guys, you don't have to do them every day. You can cram them into the weekend. You can play a game of pickleball if you want. I know that's something my parents have gotten into. I'm sure a lot of people.
Mine.
Exactly. So doctor's orders here, guys, don't stress every day of the week. If you haven't exercised those 5 days, you can potentially still make up for it in just 2 days of pickleball or walk in a golf course. And pick an activity, make it fun, bring friends around, make it a social thing too.
Let's now talk dieting. We're just cramming it all in this morning. But the idea of a fast-like diet, I definitely want to know kind of what window that means and what you'd recommend, but that it can actually specifically help reduce your biological age. This has been such a topic of conversation lately. Like, you're this age, but actually your body's this age. Why is this important?
There's tests now they're selling over the counter that you can see what is my biological age. But Savannah, this is something I've been interested in for the last decade or so. So fasting mimicking
ahead of the
diet.
curve.
Ahead of the curve. We like to think so. Fasting mimicking diet, as you can see here, is a 5-day diet. You do every 1 to 6 months, but it's not a complete fast like you hear people just walking around with these jugs of water.
It's okay, I feel.
So it's a diet that's just low in calories, about 700 to 1,000 calories. You follow it for 5 days a week, or 5 days a week, every 1 to 6 months. And what they found in this new study, guys, was that it can mimic some of the same benefits you get in people who just cut everything out. So really the point being, you don't have to do some drastic lifestyle change that you do every day. You can just do it for 5 days every few months and get the same benefits. Can reduce your biological age, which we talked about, lower signs of diabetes, better immune system aging, that sort of thing, by about 2.5 years compared to your chronological age. So guys, bringing us to our doctor's orders here. Know the types of fasting. So me personally, I fast for about 16 hours a day. I tend to eat for 8 hours a day. Some people do 12. Some people do 5 days of normal, 2 days of fasting. You can kind of play around with it, see what works for you. But I recommend you ease into it. It may be something that can be hard to adjust to. You may be irritable. You may be hangry, cranky, that sort of thing. So try it for a day a week, maybe 2 days a week, and build up from there.
It's actually easier than I thought it would be.
So you do
I've done
too?
a little bit. Yeah. I mean, sometimes because we get up early, that's hard because we're just
The
up
challenge
all
is when
hours,
you have plans at night.
Right. To figure out what window you're going to do. Yeah.
Exactly.
Dr. Sayal, thank you so much. Great to see you. Yeah. Coming up, a stunning admission from an American man on trial in Germany for an attack that killed one tourist and injured another. We'll bring you the latest from court.
Plus, it could be heaven or it could be hell for 3 men headed to trial for a classic 1970s rock song. We're going to break down the lawsuit over the lyrics to the Eagles' Hotel California. You're watching Morning News Now. Back now with what's making news around the world, starting in Germany, where an American man has admitted to a brutal attack on 2 American tourists in Germany last summer, killing one of them.
NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us with the details on that, as well as other world news. Hey, Claudio, good morning.
Savannah, Joe, good morning. Well, that's right. According to German news outlets, the 31-year-old American man, who hasn't been identified yet because of Germany's privacy laws, has admitted to charges of rape and murder on the first day of the trial on Monday. Now, he's accused of luring 21-year-old Eva Liu and 22-year-old Kelsey Chang last summer while they were hiking near Neuschwanstein Castle, one of Germany's most popular tourist destinations. Prosecutors say Liu was assaulted, strangled and pushed down a slope where she eventually died. Chang suffered severe injuries but survived. A verdict is expected in mid-March. Now let's travel over to Pakistan, where 2 major political parties announced the formation of a new government. The move is controversial because it follows a contentious election days earlier this month, marred by accusations of rigging. Now, this disagreement led to nearly 2 weeks of negotiations. Despite winning the most seats, this new move will likely keep former Prime Minister Imran Khan, who is currently in prison, out of power. And finally, we end our short tour of the world in France, where the Eiffel Tower has a slightly smaller new twin. Frédéric Malmaison and Sylvain Bouchard in western France built a 52-foot replica, and they made it entirely out of 825 pieces of recycled wood. The project took them nearly 6 months. Now, Savannah, Joe, I can only imagine the splinters there. Well, they say they hope their miniature Eiffel will get approval to go on display during this summer's Olympics. Thanks to you.
Very impressive. All right. Claudio, thank you so much.
Now, it is one of the most famous rock songs of all time. And today, the Eagles track Hotel California will be at the center of a criminal trial.
3 men are accused of trying to sell handwritten drafts of the lyrics to the 1976 classic. Prosecutors say the pages were stolen and that the 3 men did not have permission to sell them. NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos joins us now to explain. This is a pretty complex case here. The 3 men obviously have pleaded not guilty. They're basically saying they received the lyrics from a writer who worked with the band. Walk us through what each side is arguing in this.
The 3 defendants in this case, no one is saying they actually stole these handwritten lyrics. Instead, the person who may have been involved in obtaining them is known, identified, and for reasons that are not entirely clear, is not one of the indicted co-defendants. It's not clear whether or not he may have cooperated to some degree at some point in the past, or that he may be in the future, but the reasons for that are unknown. The bottom line is really, lyrics aside, this is about property that may have been stolen and whether or not these defendants concealed what's called the provenance, which is just a fancy way of saying whether they knew that the history of these documents was that they were stolen. And boy, the world of precious documents is a very shadowy world because you can't always track down from whence these documents all came. So it's a lot of investigative work that really relies a lot on things like emails, word of mouth, other stuff like that.
First of all, I'll have you both know this was one of the first songs I learned to play on guitar. If you never
all right.
performance.
And she's going to perform right now.
Second, they're not actually charged with stealing, right? Like, what is it that they're being charged with, and then does that make the prosecution's job harder?
Essentially, it's a conspiracy. It's retaining the stolen property and concealing its origin. So, like we said before, they're not charged with actually stealing it. No one really knows for sure. That's going to be a hotly contested issue. And by the way, if you're the defense, that's going to be your central theme, which is how can they be in possession of stolen documents when, number one, the documents may not have even been stolen. Now, what's problematic for these 3 co-defendants is that there may be some evidence showing that they were at least aware that the documents came from a suspect source. So that's going to be really problematic for them. But if I'm them, you point to the empty chair in the room and say, the real bad guy isn't here before you. Why don't they track down who actually stole these documents? But the upside is we may see testimony from Eagle himself, Don Henley, who will come in and testify about his part. And he was actually involved because he was the one who essentially went to law enforcement and cooperated with him. Again, that'll be another central theme of the defense. Hey, the prosecutors here, they're starstruck. They're just Don Henley fans, so they believe everything that he told them. Look for that to be another central theme for the defense here.
That's a big thing. Don Henley will try to get to the heart of the matter in this one, but he could be called. What are they going to try to get out of him? Why? What's his sort of role in his testimony?
Well, he's a fact witness in the sense that he was eyewitness to some of the events. He was involved in sort of saying, hey, give me these back. He even purchased some of the pages back. But then from there, he's going to be able to talk about his own story about their provenance. And that's sort of a magic word in art collecting and precious documents. Where did these documents come from? And Don Henley, of course, knows because he and his bandmates were essentially the creators of the document. And of course, that's going to be a hotly contested issue, the factual issue of what exactly happened to these documents and how did they disappear from where they were supposed to be.
Interesting to see what happens. All right, Danny Ceballos, thank you.
Thank you. Coming up, 2 credit card companies now closer to becoming one. When we come back, what we're learning about Capital One's multi-billion-dollar plan to acquire Discover. And, of course, we're going to tell you how it could impact you and shareholders.
Plus, revolutionary and racist, the growing concerns about a lack of representation in the world of artificial intelligence. Stay with us. You're watching Morning News Now. Welcome back. We're learning more about a potential mega merger between Capital One and Discover.
Capital One Financial announced on Monday it reached a deal to acquire Discover Financial Services in an all-stock deal worth more than $35 billion. The merger of the two companies would expand Capital One's credit card offerings. So let's talk about what this means for all of us at home. If you've got one of these in your wallet, let's bring in NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans, of course. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. So first of all, just why do they want this to happen? Why is Capital One looking to buy Discover? What's in it for these companies?
So Discover has a payment transaction network, too. So it has all these millions and millions of customers who have Discover cards, who have pretty good credit, by the way, and like their Discover cards for the cashback features. But it also has this transaction network. So that allows Capital One maybe to move some of its credit cards that it processes through Visa and MasterCard maybe onto the Discover platform, where it has more say in transaction fees and profits and the like. So it just kind of beefs up Capital One, the picture of what Capital One is as a credit card issuer, but also as a transaction house.
This would have to be approved by federal regulators.
Yes.
What kind of hurdles does it face?
Look, it's going right away. We heard from Senator Elizabeth Warren yesterday who said, block this immediately. It's bad for consumers. I mean, I've been talking to a lot of consumer experts who say, look, what these companies have to do is prove to the government that people won't be hurt, that this actually increases competition, doesn't limit competition. And the White House, this administration has been very keen on junk fees and overdraft fees and the nickel and diming that happens to the American consumer and so many of the transactions they make in life. So they'll have to really show to the government that this will not increase fees on consumers. I talked to one expert, Greg McBride of Bankrate yesterday, who told me, look, if you have a Discover card or a Capital One card and you are a good customer and you pay your bills, you will probably see better rewards, better offers, more competitive offers down the road eventually. If you're the kind of customer who's carrying a balance and missing payments, nothing changes. You are in a very dire situation. That doesn't change with
has nothing to do with the merger. Right. So is there any real downside for customers? Like, let's say you Discover card in your wallet is the one you use all the time, or your Capital One card. Is there anything that you kind of need to be paying attention to?
Nothing happens right now. They think this merger, if it is approved by regulators, it would be the end of this year, maybe the beginning of 2025. And then, by law, if they change what your card offers, you have 45 days to reject that, to change your card. So it's a long time away before anybody's card in your wallet changes. For the most part, there will probably be different kinds of offerings, right? There'll be different kinds of Discover offerings, different kind of Capital One offerings. For Discover customers, a lot of the speculation is because Capital One recently bought kind of a high-end travel entertainment company, that maybe those Discover card holders with the high credit scores and the good perks on their card, maybe they'll get more perks like that too, or more offers or more synergy down the road. But at this point, it's 100% theoretical. It depends on what regulators say and what these companies have to promise to get this deal done.
This would be, as we mentioned, an all-stock deal. If you're a shareholder, what does that mean?
So if you're a Discover shareholder, you get a little more than one share of Capital One stock for every share of Discover that you had. If you're a Capital One shareholder, you're certainly hoping that this Discover merger is going to add value to the company and increase profits down the road. So there's the shareholder angle, there's the consumer angle, and the consumer angle is going to take a long time longer to play out, I think.
That sounded like super bad news, though.
No, I mean, Elizabeth Warren certainly, Senator Elizabeth Warren says it is super bad news, but she's always on the tip of the spear for worried about the consumer, getting the raw end of a deal. I would say this: the reason why this is such a lucrative business right now is because Americans have more than $1 trillion in credit card debt, and guess what? A lot of people are carrying a $6,000 balance, and guess what? At 21.5% interest, you're spending $500 a year in interest just to carry that balance, and you're probably paying for a lot of these bank cards. You're paying an annual fee too. So Americans are paying dearly for their debt right now. These are companies in the middle of profiting because we're in debt.
Yep. All right. Christine, thank you so much for breaking it down. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's stay on your money. Some good news from the Biden administration about student loans.
That's right. CNBC's Silvana Henao has that and other news that could impact your wallet. More of that. Good morning, Silvana.
Good morning, Savannah. Good morning, Julia. So the Biden administration is canceling another $1.2 billion in student debt. Now, some 153,000 people are eligible under a government program used to make good on promises to increase forgiveness of loans. The White House has now canceled some $138 billion in student loans for nearly 3.9 million people through executive orders after the Supreme Court blocked a bigger plan to forgive $430 billion. Amazon will join the Dow Jones Industrial Average next Monday. The e-commerce giant is replacing Walgreens, S&P Dow Jones indices, which decides which companies are part of the Dow and S&P 500, says the move was actually prompted by Walmart's decision to do a 3-for-1 stock split, which will reduce its weighting in the Dow. It also increases the exposure of consumer retail companies in the Dow. The Dow has lagged behind the S&P and NASDAQ in recent years as it's less oriented toward tech stocks. And how about a little pork with your morning cup of joe? Well, Starbucks debuting a braised pork latte in select stores in China to mark the Lunar New Year. The drink mixes espresso and steamed milk with dong po pork sauce. It's also garnished with a square slice of pork belly. Braised pork is considered a staple food during New Year celebrations. The drink sells for about 68 yuan. That's about $9.50, guys.
Huh. I have to try it out. All right.
Joe is always down for the taste test.
Thank you, Savannah. Appreciate
Thanks, you got it. Now to the AI revolution and growing concerns about racism within the technology. So AI has recently, of course, seen this rise in popularity in this short amount of time, and it's seen as a tool in some cases that could help improve productivity or streamline workflow. And AI has already led to major developments in science and medicine. It's also impacting how we socialize.
But users are also sounding the alarm about a lack of representation for minorities, people of color within the technology. Some are saying AI is creating a racial divide, and it's helping to spread racism.
For more on this, we are joined by Sinead Bovell, futurist and founder of WAY. That stands for Weekly Advice for Young Entrepreneurs, by the way. And of course, she's a friend of the show whenever we're talking AI. Sinead, thanks for being here. So tell us, how can this technology end up spreading racism, sexism, or any other type of bias? What role does this algorithm play in something like that?
Right. Well, it starts with understanding what AI is. And AI is largely based on the data that it's trained on, and in many ways, the opinions of the programmers who built it. That data usually comes from the past. And the past is often something we don't want to repeat. It has a lot of historical power imbalances and societal biases. And that's going to show up in the decisions and the predictions that AI systems make. For instance, in some of the newer AI image generators, where people are using AI to generate images of themselves, even in things like LinkedIn profiles, they're finding that these AI systems tend to make them a bit more Eurocentric, whether that means lightening their skin tone or their facial features. Or even recently, I was using an AI image generator to generate images for my niece's and nephew's storybook, and all of the characters it tended to generate were white. So it just goes to show some of these biases that can be found all across the internet, which many of these systems are built on, are now getting fed into these AI systems. And some are making really big decisions about us, from mortgages to university acceptance to healthcare outcomes.
Are any companies taking steps to try and address these racial inequalities in AI?
I would say yes. I think the good thing is the conversation has moved quite a bit. In 2016, 17, 18, and 19, when researchers such as Dr. Joy Buolamwini started to flag AI being a really big reflection of bias, there wasn't much done. There was a lot of pushback by companies. Now we are at least seeing companies trying to make an effort, broaden who they're hiring, at least even recording what diversity statistics look like in their offices and in their companies, and recognizing that bias can occur. But do we see wide-scale change happening? Not so much. We do see all the time facial recognition systems used by police officers, for instance, incorrectly identifying people, predominantly Black people, for crimes that they didn't commit. We do see racial bias showing up in a lot of these more recent AI systems. So the conversations are happening more frequently. Is change happening? Not at the scale that it needs to.
So, Sinead, I know that as part of an article for Refinery 29, you kind of delved into this discussion a little bit more, and I want to read just a couple of things that you said there. You said that AI is a reflection of humanity and a reflection of history, and you said it holds up a mirror to society, the present and the past. What does that mean about what we can learn from this? And is there a way to try to kind of do the opposite of what we're discussing here, use AI to enhance diversity? Are there checks and balances that could be put in place to make that happen?
Yes, and it's a great question because AI at its core is a conversation with history. It's essentially the data that it's been trained on, which comes from the past. But what we see in those data sets, that doesn't have to be what we perpetuate. Data can be changed. It can be edited to reflect examples of history where things would have been more fair. But that requires us having those conversations, interrogating that data, and confronting the AI systems we build in a certain way. So you could say if AI is used and it highlights examples of bias, for example, in a company's hiring patterns, well, that's an opportunity to make a change. If that company is open and honest about that, has interrogated those systems and didn't just deploy it without thinking about it.
Sinead Wabel, we appreciate you having this conversation with us as always. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good stuff. Thank you. Coming up, Oscar who? That's right. Greta Gerwig may not have been nominated for an Academy Award for some of them.
For directing, yeah.
Yes, but it's still her year.
Yeah, the Barbie director is one of a dozen women named in Time's Women of the Year. When we return, we're going to go through the list with Time's deputy editor. You're watching Morning News Now. Beyonce is certainly not done with her renaissance. The pop superstar has once again made history. Her new hit, Texas Hold'em, skyrocketing to #1 on Billboard's Hot Country Songs chart after a surprise debut during the Super Bowl. That makes her the first black woman to top the country chart since it was introduced back in 1958. Here's a fun fact. The song also hit #1 on 6 other Billboard charts, including, of course, the Hot 100, which all answers the burning question, who run the country world? Beyonce, of course.
You didn't do that, like, to Time.
Nah, because you can't do Beyonce. She's Beyonce.
This is very cool. All right, let's stay on some girl power. Time magazine has just released their list of Women of the Year.
On the cover is none other than director, actor, and writer Greta Gerwig, the filmmaker behind the blockbuster Barbie. Kelly Conniff is deputy editor at Time and joins us with that and more on the list. Good to have you with us. So Greta Gerwig, of course, got a lot of headlines because she was snubbed for the directing Oscar nomination. She did pick up some others, of course, but why did you decide to put her on the cover?
I mean, Greta is simply a force of nature. And, you know, you mentioned the snub, but I think we also have to say her film was nominated for 8 Oscars, which is not something that happens with most films any year, certainly, but especially not for a movie that made nearly $1.5 billion at the box office. The movie that she made is also simply a pop culture phenomenon, right? I don't think you could go anywhere last year and escape pink I Am Knuff hoodies, listening to I Am Ken in the supermarket. It was really just everywhere. And I think you can really see just the impact that she's had, both in terms of popular culture, but just also in what she means, I think, specifically for women and girls.
Did she reveal anything fun in her interview with y'all in this?
She did. She talked a lot about her next project, which is an adaptation of the Chronicles of Narnia for Netflix. And she talked a lot about, and I think, you know, she talked about loving both Little Women and Narnia growing up and how these are really kind of pivotal books for her. She talks about the world building that she's doing, trying to figure out how to make these special effects driven movies really feel special and intimate, which is something I think she did really successfully with Barbie.
Yeah, the world building aspect is so true. It's like completely transformative. How do you pick the 12 women, right? What's the process?
12. Yeah, so every year it's a really big discussion among our staff. We also go out to women who have been on these lists previously, and we are really looking for women who are, you know, pivotal figures. And these are not just women who are first, although we love that and we want to recognize that, but these are women who are bringing other women up with them as they rise. So we're looking for women who are trying to improve the world for everyone, but specifically for other women as well.
Who's someone on the list who maybe most of our viewers may not be familiar with, but you want to make sure they know?
Sure. A wonderful human rights activist, Nadia Murad, whose life's changed when the Islamic State fighters invaded northern Iraq in 2014. She is trying now to eliminate the use of sexual violence in war. She won the Nobel Prize a few years ago. She's written a New York Times bestseller. She has an organization, and she's really trying to put survivors first and change the narrative around what happens to women during war and also really help bring them up and help them recover.
This is your 4th list. Why has this become so important?
You know, look, every year there are setbacks for women in the courts, in what's happening to our bodies, and we are really trying to find ways to celebrate women, and not just women like Greta who have these kind of massive successes, but also, as you were saying, to raise up women who maybe don't have this larger awareness and who aren't, you know, always in the headlines. And we're looking to kind of highlight these women, celebrate them, and help make a better world.
We've just got like 30 seconds left, but while we have this picture up, if we could keep it up. Tell us about a couple of the others.
Sure. I love Taraji P. Henson. I don't know if you saw the musical adaptation of The Color Purple, which she was in. And she talked a lot on her press tour about how she really feels like she's underpaid. And she's underpaid when compared to her white and her male counterparts. And she spoke up about this. It's a great risk. Hollywood is a town that doesn't always like people who speak up. And she talked about how she wants to do this specifically so that other women, including her co-stars in The Color Purple, will be able to not just make more money, but help other women moving forward.
Kelly, thank you for joining us. Congrats
Thanks
on
for
this
having
list.
me.
This is
Thank
out
you.
online now and on newsstands as well.
That's right.
We appreciate you coming by. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now. Good morning. Thanks for joining us this Wednesday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, not going anywhere. Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley digging in, vowing to stay in the race for the White House, even if she loses the primary in her home state of South Carolina this weekend. We've got the latest polling numbers there as former President Trump revs up his offensive ahead of a crucial conservative conference in Washington. Also this morning, an American citizen detained in Russia accused of treason. The White House's new warning to all Americans there as President Biden vows to levy new sanctions against Russia in the wake of the sudden death of Alexei Navalny. Plus, a shocking and heartbreaking tragedy that has left one popular Florida beach community shaken. A little girl is dead. Her brother left hospitalized after the hole they were digging in the sand collapsed on them. But officials say went wrong, and the warning from lifeguards ahead of the busy spring break travel season. And later in the hour, we are flipping the script with the boundary-busting comedian Eddie Izzard, whose serious one-person adaptation of a Shakespearean tragedy is bringing gender fluidity before a raving New York audience. Excited to bring you that. Literally one person playing 23 different characters
That blows my mind.
on stage and has to memorize all those lines, too. So
Couldn't do it.
Exciting
Very
conversation
impressive.
coming up. We're going to start with Nikki Haley giving a strong message to her supporters, saying she refuses to quit with just 3 days to go until the primary in South Carolina. Polls show former President Donald Trump leads by nearly 30 points, but Haley says her campaign will continue no matter what the results are.
Yeah, and her message comes as the annual Conservative Political Action Conference gets underway in Washington today, with former President Trump set to headline the gathering on Saturday. NBC News correspondent Garrett Hake is covering it all for us from Washington.
The political math for Nikki Haley looks bad in South Carolina and even worse in the states that follow. But yesterday, she made clear she's going to keep fighting. Haley says she has to warn her party that Donald Trump may well win this primary, only to lose to President Biden in a general election again.
I refuse to quit.
With South Carolina's Republican primary looming, Nikki Haley is vowing to fight on, even if she loses to former President Donald Trump on Saturday.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm campaigning every day until the last person votes.
The former UN ambassador is running 28 points behind Mr. Trump in her home state, according to a new poll of likely South Carolina voters. Despite the former president's dominance, Haley says Mr. Trump is the only candidate President Biden can defeat, pointing to unnamed Republicans who, she says, publicly embrace Mr. Trump even as they privately dread him.
I feel no need to kiss the ring. I have no fear of Trump's retribution.
Haley growing emotional, speaking about her husband, Michael, a National Guard officer deployed in Africa and a recent target of Mr. Trump's mockery.
What happened to her husband? Where is he? He's gone.
I wish Michael was here today. And I wish our children and I could see him tonight, but we can't.
The former president on Fox News overnight attacking Haley.
She's down by 30, 35 points. And everybody knows her. You're not supposed to lose your home state. Shouldn't happen anyway. And she's losing it big. I mean, really, I said big lead. I don't think she knows how to get out, actually.
Both Haley and President Biden have assailed Mr. Trump for his refusal to condemn Vladimir Putin after the death of Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny in Russian custody. The former president is again invoking Navalny's death to score political points, alluding to his own legal problems.
Navalny is a very sad situation. It's a horrible thing, but it's happening in our country too. We are turning into a communist country in many ways.
Asked whether he'd rather face Trump or Haley in the general election, President Biden brushing off the question.
Oh, I don't care. At that same town hall last night, Mr. Trump was asked who might be on his vice presidential shortlist. The names he confirmed included 3 former rivals, including Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy, with the lion's share of his praise going to South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. Scott, who ironically was first appointed to his post by Nikki Haley, has been a key voice for Trump these last few weeks and has been seeing his star rise in Trump world accordingly. All right, Garrett, thank you.
We're following a major development in the House Republican impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. The former FBI informant who allegedly fed the Bureau false information about President Biden and his son Hunter during the 2020 presidential campaign said that some of the information he spread came from, quote, officials associated with Russian intelligence. For more on this, we are joined by NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles in Washington. Ryan, good morning. Good to see you. So what can you tell us about these new revelations?
Well, it is a pretty fantastic allegation by the special counsel David Weiss, and it's important to keep in mind that he discovered this information during his investigation into the president's son, Hunter Biden. And it's been a big part of the impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden, whereas they've been trying to establish that Hunter Biden was peddling his father's name around the world as a way to drum up business interests. And they've really based a lot of their impeachment inquiry on this tip sheet that was provided to the FBI by an informant that claimed that Joe Biden was being bribed. Well, now we've learned that David Weiss, the special counsel, believes that that informant, Alexander Smirnov, who was in a Las Vegas courtroom yesterday, was actually lying to investigators about that potential bribe. And furthermore, that he was working with Russian intelligence officials and doing so just recently, and that there is even potential efforts to get involved in the upcoming election cycle. So there's a lot of different components to this that complicate the situation for Republicans who are still actively investigating the president as part of their impeachment inquiry, and it comes as they're scheduled to meet with the president's brother today. Savannah.
Yeah, so does this new information change anything in that regard, given that, you know, this seemingly false information was a big part of this impeachment push? What does that mean now, and what's the Republican reaction then?
Well, it certainly makes it more difficult for them to build this case that the president was taking bribes or that he was financially and directly involved with his son's business dealings. But it hasn't seemed in any way to slow the process of this impeachment inquiry for Republicans. They're still hell-bent on trying to make these connections, despite the fact that they've yet to produce any sort of hard evidence. Now, perhaps that changes after they have the president's brother in front of them today. They're scheduled to meet with Hunter Biden himself next week. But one of the biggest issues that Republicans have had as they've continued this inquiry is trying to find that piece of smoking gun evidence that will be enough to compel every single Republican to vote for articles of impeachment. That's something that there are still a number of skeptical Republicans who have just not felt that they can get to that point. This certainly blows a hole in the effort to get to that stage for House Republicans.
And Ryan, why is it that they want to speak with the president's brother? What are they hoping to get from him?
Well, so the president's brother is someone who House Republicans believe was actively using his brother's name to try and garner business dealings all around the country and around the world. In particular, they're focused on a hospital group that James Biden consulted for, where they believe that he had promised this hospital group that his brother, either in his capacity as a former vice president or the potential as a president in the future, would be able to help this hospital group specifically build its business to rural communities across the country. That hospital group ended up filing for bankruptcy, and House Republicans believe that James Biden's role in that may have contributed to it all. But much like the other stuff we've talked about, Savannah, there's no direct connection to the president himself. While James Biden may have been claiming access to his brother, there's no evidence that he actually followed through on that or that President Biden himself benefited in any way. So, again, this is somewhat of a fishing exercise by House Republicans as they're trying to hook something here as it relates to this investigation. They're hoping that their tough questioning of James Biden will lead to that later today. But at this point, that evidence just has not emerged. Savannah.
Right. So much to watch for here. Ryan Nobles, thank you.
A ballerina who is a Russian-American dual citizen has been detained in Russia. Russia's state security service says the Los Angeles resident is in custody on suspicion of treason. They allege she helped raise money for Ukraine's armed forces. NBC's chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel has more on that as the U.S. prepares for a new round of sanctions on Russia.
Russia is appearing very confident these days, accused of assassinating Alexei Navalny, now arresting an American dual national, and intensifying its military assault here in Ukraine.
This morning, another American citizen is in custody in Russia. Ksenia Karolina, a 33-year-old ballerina who lived in Los Angeles, is a Russian-American dual national. She was detained on suspicion of treason for allegedly donating money to support Ukraine. The White House now issuing a warning to all Americans in Russia.
If you're a U.S. citizen, including a dual national, residing in or traveling in Russia, you ought to leave right now.
Russia's Federal Security Service released this video, apparently showing Karolina being led into a courtroom where a judge denied her bail.
She is not safe there, and if we do not help her, so she will spend the rest of her life in jail.
As the U.S. works to respond, President Biden says he will bring new sanctions against Russia after the death of Vladimir Putin's most outspoken critic, Alexei Navalny.
I told you we'd be announcing sanctions on Russia. We'll have a major package announced on Friday.
But Russia is already under sanctions, which so far have had little impact, as Russia is shielded by China, continues to sell oil internationally, and is resupplied with weapons by Iran and North Korea. The U.S. says the sanctions are also designed to hold Russia accountable for the war in Ukraine, where Russian troops are flattening villages across the east as they advance. Russia launched new attacks overnight as Ukrainian defenders are stalled as they await weapons and ammunition blocked by Congress. Russia drove Ukrainian forces from the city of Avdiivka last weekend. A witness tells NBC News as the Russians advanced, Ukrainian troops broke rank into chaos. A Ukrainian military spokesman this morning said some Ukrainians were captured or went missing.
And the Biden administration isn't acting alone. Just this morning, the EU announced new sanctions on nearly 200 Russian individuals and entities accused of helping Moscow procure weapons and kidnap Ukrainian children. And the UK announced new sanctions on 6 Russian officials from that penal colony where Navalny died last week.
All right, Richard, thank you.
And turning now to a tragedy in Florida where a girl has died and a boy was hospitalized after a hole they were digging at the beach collapsed. Authorities are investigating, and the case has raised concerns as we approach the spring break season because it's happened more than once recently. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock joins us from Lauderdale by the Sea, Florida with more. Sam, good morning.
Yeah, Savannah, good morning. You can only imagine what families are thinking who are watching this right now. Emergency officials describing it as an unfathomable accident. As you said, Savannah, you're talking about 2 kids under the age of 8 who were playing in the sand not far from where I'm standing here. The hole was about 5 to 6 feet deep. It collapses and pulls them inside of it. And despite the fact, Savannah, you had apparently dozens of bystanders trying to help them and then fire and rescue crews, they couldn't save the life of that little girl.
This morning, aerial images show the cavernous hole on a beach in Broward County, Florida, where a heartbreaking tragedy took place.
There's reference to a child caught in a hole in the sand by the High Noon Resort Hotel. Still receiving unknown age of the child, unknown if they're fully buried.
Chaos unfolding in a place where many families vacation after beachgoers witnessed 2 kids digging a hole, then getting pulled underneath the surface when the sand collapsed around them. Bystanders jumping in to help.
There's about 20 people digging, trying to find the child.
This cell phone video shows the frantic efforts to save the young boy and girl before paramedics arrived and furiously began digging. Pompano Beach Fire Rescue says the 2 kids were both under the age of 8. The boy was rescued chest deep in sand and is in stable condition. His younger sister, buried beneath him, wasn't breathing when they reached her, and their efforts to resuscitate her failed. It's both a chilling and common beach emergency. Sand holes are by nature unstable, with walls that can easily collapse. A similar incident happened on the Jersey Shore only days ago, when parents said their 2-year-old was playing, not even digging a hole, leading them to jump in when their child was pulled under.
Could have been way worse. Way worse.
Lifeguards issuing this warning.
Had no idea how dangerous the holes could be until I started lifeguarding.
Another batch of beach blocked off with yellow tape as spring break vacations now await families all over the country.
Sam, just so heartbreaking. I mean, what should parents know? What are tips here to avoid a tragedy like this?
Right, Savannah, of course, kids are going to want to dig holes in the sand, right? Ideally, that wouldn't happen, but the rule of thumb, according to experts, is you should not dig deeper than the knee of the smallest person in your group. By the way, overnight, the American Lifeguard Association is calling for nationwide regulations on depth of holes to try to prevent tragedies like this from happening again. Savannah.
All right, Sam Brock, thank you very much.
Now to the relentless storms that continue to cause major damage out west. After days of rain, Southern California is bracing for the possibility of even more flooding and dangerous mudslides. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has been following the storm system for us and has the latest. Liz, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. Yeah, I'm happy to report it is dry right now. A nice break from this historic rainfall. LA has seen more than a foot of rain just this month. A flood watch does remain in effect right now. But even as the conditions start to ease, the damage from this storm could be felt in some areas for days, weeks, where we are potentially years. This is a historic cliffside chapel. It's a famous wedding venue. It's been featured in TV shows like The OC and 90210. It is now closed indefinitely because of structural damage from shifting land. With another wave of heavy rain drenching California, this morning, emergency crews working to repair damage from the storm. This funnel cloud seen over the foothills of nearby Santa Paula. While in the Bay Area, streets flooded in downtown San Francisco. Overnight, officials confirming flash floods near Santa Barbara killed a second person. From the sky, rescue crews have been working to save multiple people trapped in high waters near Paso Robles, while ground teams across the state are assessing collapsed roadways and clearing debris that's blocking traffic. Some communities are on the brink of disaster as foundations dissolve beneath houses built on hillsides, even causing some structures to collapse entirely. In this neighborhood near LA, the storm is accelerating erosion.
It started with a crack and then it started to sink.
At this historic chapel near LA, a slow-moving landslide is ripping the building apart, forcing church leaders to shut their doors indefinitely. The near-record downpours even creating an unlikely oasis in the desert. This lake forming at Death Valley National Park, which has seen more than double the annual rainfall over the last 6 months. Park officials say kayaking is now possible in the driest place in North America. Still, residents living near landslides fear the most devastating impact is yet to come. Is the storm making all this worse?
Of course. It's not helping.
Now, inside the chapel here, we're told that these beautiful glass windows, the iconic part of this chapel, are at risk of shattering. And I wanted to show you some of the other damage here. The ground has moved so much. There's these big cracks in the foundation, the pipes showing. This door won't even touch the sham anymore. It's moved that much. Now, 175 weddings have been canceled here because of this. And they're trying to retrofit and reopen, but it's a really big challenge, and there's no guarantee, Joe.
Wow. All right, Liz Kreutz, thank you for your reporting. We appreciate it. Let's get more with your Morning News Now forecast.
Angie Lastman joins us to give us the latest. Hi, Angie. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning, guys. We'll get to what's going on in California in a moment, but we've first got to talk about the really warm temperatures that we've got going on in the middle of the country and the potential for some record highs today. We've got a little over a week until we officially enter meteorological spring, so these temperatures are a bit premature, and boy, are they warm. 72 degrees is your high that we're expecting in St. Louis today. Wichita heads to the mid-70s. You can see parts of the southern plains, places like Amarillo. That's where we'll take a run at a record high this afternoon. But even Chicago to Minneapolis running 15 to 20, even 25 degrees above normal for this time of year. It'll still feel like spring for tomorrow, too. Mid-50s for Indianapolis, low 60s for St. Louis. Places like Memphis will be into the upper 60s, so not quite as warm as what we're going to deal with today, but we're still going to be above normal. We start to moderate out by the time we get into Friday and Saturday. Places like Chicago will get back to the low 40s. We'll see St. Louis into the mid 50s, but we go right back up to warmer than normal temperatures by the time we wrap up the weekend. Sunday, 57 degrees in Chicago. We've got the 70s on tap in St. Louis. So we've got a bit of a temperature roller coaster ride over the next couple of days. Those temperatures, along with some low humidity, some elevated winds, that's leaving us with 3 million people under these red flag warnings. We're talking fire alerts through the day today. This is going to last for places like New Mexico, Texas, parts of Oklahoma, and up into Colorado, with gusts expected 40, 50 miles per hour. That low humidity and those warm temperatures won't be hard for us to see some fires starting today. So just a heads up for that. Meanwhile, we've got the mountain snow and the morning rain that we're tracking out west, finally getting a bit of a break and some drier conditions later today for Southern California. But notice this morning, we've still got 23 million people under these flood alerts. Most of those will expire by mid-morning. And we specifically have that flash flood warning still in effect right around Los Angeles, with that big batch of moisture that worked through into the early morning hours for folks there. That's going to be out of the picture here by the time we get to the second half of the day. We won't completely be done with the rain across California. Notice there's still some mountain snow and some showers that we'll track for central to northern California, but Washington, Oregon also seeing that. But the main system will work out over the Rockies, and that's where we'll see some additional snowfall for folks there. Meanwhile, the weekend looks pretty good. Honestly, we've got a bit of rain and snow that'll work across parts of the Ohio Valley and out east towards the coast. Maybe some interior areas of New England could see some wet snow, but otherwise plenty of sunshine on tap for Friday. It looks great out west. They'll have plenty of time to dry out through the weekend, and we'll see those temperatures mild as well, guys. We head into Saturday and Sunday with plenty of sunshine and potentially near record highs by Sunday.
Did you say it's meteorological spring in like a week?
Yes. So it starts on the 1st of the month.
There you go.
It's a little different than astronomical winter and spring, but
spring's in a week, guys.
We make the rules, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Meteorologist. Who runs the world? Meteorologists. All right.
Beyonce said it.
There we go.
That was even like more. Thank you, Angie. All right, we've got much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including the parenting advice YouTuber now jailed for up to 30 years for abusing her kids.
But first, the trial surrounding the armorer in that deadly Rust shooting involving Alec Baldwin. It's set to start today. What we know about the charges she's facing. We've got those stories and more next.
Welcome back. This morning in New Mexico, prosecutors will lay out their involuntary manslaughter case against Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. She's the armorer from Alec Baldwin's movie Rust.
Cinematographer Helena Hutchins was killed when a gun went off on the film's set back in October 2021. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas joins us now with more on this. Chloe, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Jury selection begins today in Gutierrez-Reed's trial, and prosecutors, they're going to have to try to prove that Hannah was responsible for how live bullets made their way onto that set and into the prop gun, which ultimately killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins.
More than 2 years after the fatal shooting on the set of Rust, the film's armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed will face criminal charges in court. The case centers on how a live round of ammunition found its way onto the film's set and into a prop gun used by actor Alec Baldwin, the bullet killing cinematographer Helena Hutchins and wounding director Joel Souza.
I can't believe Alec Baldwin was holding the gun.
Reed is charged with involuntary manslaughter and tampering with evidence for allegedly handing off a bag of cocaine to a friend after the shooting. She faces up to 3 years in prison if convicted on both counts. Reed's attorney, Jason Bowles, speaking to Savannah in 2021.
Everything that she saw, she's heartbroken, and she's just devastated by what's happened.
Bowles now writing in a statement, Miss Gutierrez-Reed is ready for her day in court and looks forward to the full truth finally coming out. She is not guilty of the crimes charged against her. Hutchinson's widower Matthew telling Hoda in 2022,
every individual who touches a firearm has a responsibility for gun safety.
Alec Baldwin, the star and producer of the film, is set to stand trial at some point as well. Last month, a grand jury indicted Baldwin on 1 count of involuntary manslaughter after a previous set of charges were dropped. His attorney saying after he was charged, we look forward to our day in court. Baldwin has repeatedly maintained he did not pull the trigger, but prosecutors aren't buying it.
Well, I didn't pull the trigger. Someone is responsible for what happened, and I can't say who that is, but I know it's not me.
In a report commissioned by prosecutors over the summer, a forensics expert found the gun had not been modified, and Baldwin would have had to have pulled the trigger. As for Gutierrez-Reed, it's unclear what evidence will be presented in court.
But a source says video obtained exclusively by NBC News in November could be played for the jury. Prosecutors are also expected to introduce text messages they say show Gutierrez-Reed was using alcohol and drugs after work, including the night before the fatal shooting. The young armorer, the first member of the Rust crew to stand trial for a tragedy that has changed the film industry.
Gutierrez-Reed's lawyer would not say if she's going to take the stand in her own defense, but we do know that this trial will take about 2 weeks with several witnesses, including first responders who responded to the shooting, and Baldwin's trial is likely to begin this summer.
All right, a lot to keep following here. Thank you for doing so. Chloe, thanks.
International news now. Tensions are rising after a Chinese Coast Guard boat briefly invaded Taiwan's waters.
NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga has the latest on that and some other international headlines for us. Hey, Claudio, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. Well, that's right. The Coast Guard in Taiwan said that on Tuesday it had to drive away a Chinese Coast Guard boat that entered Taiwan's waters. Now, the incident happened near the frontline island of Kinmen, and it's the latest episode in what looks like a provocative escalation by China, especially following last month's election of Lai Ching-te as president, considered by Beijing a dangerous separatist. On Monday, China's Coast Guard in a separate incident boarded a Taiwanese tourist boat, triggering panic on board. Taiwan's Coast Guard said it will continue to use radar, surveillance and patrols to ensure the, quote, harmony and safety near the waters of Kinmen Islands, which are close to China's shores. Let's go to Mexico now, where a volcano erupted near Mexico City. The volcano is called, and I'll give it a shot here, Popocatépetl. I hope the pronunciation was right. And as shown in this video, it erupted on Tuesday, sending a huge ash plume that could be seen from the capital more than 50 miles away. It is Mexico's most active volcano and the country's second highest peak. And according to NASA's Earth Observatory, it has been erupting for decades, and at times it produces what they call explosive blasts of ash and volcanic bombs, as shown in this video. And let's end this tour of the world at the Copenhagen Zoo, where on Tuesday a baby elephant was born. According to zoo officials, the birth went smoothly. She's a female, and just a few minutes after she was born, the calf was on its feet, walking around among the rest of the herd. The mother is called Kumari, and is a 16-year-old elephant who was also born in a zoo. She's the second baby elephant to be born at Copenhagen Zoo after another female was born there in 2020. Now, guys, I think that there's only one thing that is cuter than baby pandas, and that's baby elephants.
Oh,
to you guys. Yeah. What if they were together? It'd be amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Baby elephants playing with baby pandas.
We would all pass out.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, Claudia. Appreciate it. A cheating scandal is shaking up the world of competitive fishing. 2 Connecticut teams were forced to give up more than $30,000 in prize money after failing lie detector tests. They're upset, and now they're speaking out. NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber has that story.
Outraged fishermen in murky waters.
What do my children think? They think I was lying?
After failing polygraph test, disqualifying them from winning over $30,000 in first and second place prize money awarded in a Connecticut fishing tournament.
It casts doubt on my integrity.
Tim Valley caught a hefty bluefin, just over 15 pounds, that would have won his team the second place prize of $7,500.
Kevin was fishing to my left. Rick was fishing to my right. I was feeling very lucky.
His captain reflecting on what a win would have meant to him.
We were so excited to finally get a win because I've been doing this tournament since I was a little kid.
The initial first place winners meeting the same fate, also failing a lie detector test, giving up bragging rights and a prize of $25,000.
From the get-go, people didn't believe it just because it was a very large fish. Anyone could have caught that fish.
Benny Sheen reeled in a massive 20-plus pound fish. The 41-year-old competition, known as the greatest bluefin tournament on Earth, stipulates that in addition to weight verification and consideration of the condition of the catches, a lie detector test is also required to ensure there was no cheating.
I run the boat. I told them the position where we caught the fish. That we have everybody in the boat witnessed the catch.
The teams involved say they don't know why they failed the polygraph.
For some reason, he failed the lie detector test. I don't understand how it's even possible.
We have it on video, with pictures, everything. He gets disqualified.
The lie detector tests are in place in theory to keep the contest fair in a sport that has been rocked by high-profile cheating scandals.
We got weights and fish! There we go!
Back Back in 2022, a Cleveland team was disqualified for stuffing their catch with lead balls. And last year, a South Carolina team eliminated after officials spotted a shark bite on a 620-pound marlin, an injury that could have made catching the fish easier.
It would appear that this fish has been bitten by a shark.
But the fishermen back in Connecticut questioned the need for a lie detector test. And according to forensic psychiatrist Charles Morgan, they might be catching on to something.
The problem with that kind of a test is that you have lots of chances to look guilty when you're not. If I were in their shoes, I'd challenge that. I mean, I wouldn't accept that.
Catching the fish seems to be the easy part. Passing that polygraph test is the hard part.
Our thanks to Ellison for that story. In a statement to our affiliate WITV, a spokeswoman from the event organizer, Connoisseur Media, says in part that if someone does not pass the test, we provide them with every opportunity to retake it, even in cases of conclusive failure. Emails provided to WITV show that Valley was denied a retest while a scheduling deadline prevented Sheen from a second go-around. Coming up, I know, this is quite the fish tale. All right, coming up, the YouTube momfluencer, who's now a convict.
After the break, the emotional sentencing for a former social media star heading to jail for abusing her children. Stay with us, that's up next. Welcome back. A YouTuber who became famous for her parenting advice has been sentenced to years in prison for child abuse. Ruby Franke beat and kicked her two children and denied them food and water. NBC News correspondent Valerie Castro has the details.
Welcome to District Court. The now infamous mom influencer and YouTube star Ruby Franke tearful in court as she faced her sentencing.
I was so disoriented that I believed dark was light and right was wrong.
The judge handing down a sentence that could last 30 years for several counts of child abuse.
The sentence will be that Ms. Franke serve 4 counts, 4 1 to 15-year sentences based on her convictions for 4 counts of aggravated child abuse.
The Utah mother of 6 once gained notoriety for her YouTube channel 8 Passengers, but a darker side to her parenting revealed last year when she pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse, including inflicting physical torture. As part of her plea agreement, Franke admitting to forcing one child to stay outside in direct sunlight for several days, resulting in serious sunburns with blistered skin. She threatened him with suffocation and drowning, and to prevent him from running away, she also handcuffed his wrists and ankles so tightly that they cut through the skin and damaged the tissue. Franke telling the child he was evil and possessed and that these were acts of love. Franke's downfall began when one of her children escaped his restraints in the backyard of her friend and business partner Jody Hildebrandt's home. That child begging neighbors to call 911.
And he asked us to call the police. So he's very afraid.
Police quickly investigating, arresting Franke and Hildebrandt, both women pleading guilty.
And to count 6 aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony.
With my deepest regret and sorrow for my family and my children, guilty.
Franke cooperating with authorities, they say, to spare her children the trauma of having to testify.
One of the toughest things we ask victims of alleged abuse to do is testify in a trial against their abusers.
Now Franke asking for forgiveness.
I took from you your mother. How terrifying this must have been for you. You are so precious to me. I'm sorry.
The judge also handed down a sentence of 4 to 30 years for Jody Hildebrandt. That's Ruby Franke's so-called business partner. She also pleaded guilty to similar charges. Utah has what is called indeterminate sentencing. That is that range of years. At this point, the Utah Board of Pardon and Parole will ultimately decide how much time the women will serve in prison.
All right, Valerie Castro, thank you.
Now to South Carolina, where testimony is set to continue this morning in a first-of-its-kind trial. A man is facing charges for allegedly killing a transgender woman who prosecutors say he was involved with romantically. It marks the first time a federal jury will have to decide whether to punish someone for a crime based on the victim's gender identity. Kenji Yoshino joins us now for a closer look at this. He's a Chief Justice Earl Warren Professor of Constitutional Law at NYU. Thanks for joining us, Professor. So help us understand just how historic this is. And for those who may not know, why is this being prosecuted at a federal level instead of at the state level in South Carolina?
Absolutely. So it's a pleasure to be here. So the federal hate crimes law dates back to 2009, and there have been prosecutions and even convictions under that federal hate crimes law, most recently in 2017. But because those were guilty pleas, this has never actually gone to trial. And this is particularly significant because South Carolina is one of only 2 states in the country without its own state hate crimes law, which means that if the federal government doesn't bring these charges, then this individual cannot be charged with a hate crime based on gender identity.
So what is it the jurors have to consider here when they're hearing the evidence and deciding guilty or not guilty?
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of evidence being brought forward about this murder. So the allegation is that the defendant, Ritter, took the victim to a very remote area of South Carolina and then shot her in a car. And there's text messages, and there are other witness allegations, and there's video camera surveillance footage of, I believe, only his arm and the tattoo on his arm. And so these are going to be the kinds of allegations that the jury is going to have to weigh in this case.
And of course, the defendant claiming he did not do it. There's no evidence to prove that he did it. Let's talk bigger picture here. In recent years, we've seen a surge in attacks on the LGBTQ+ community. And for decades, we know transgender women of color specifically have faced just disproportionately high rates of violence and hate crimes. That's according to the Department of Homeland Security. So this trial, if there's a prosecution here, if there's a conviction, what impact could this have on hate crimes based on gender identity, and whether we see more cases like this perhaps in other states?
Yes, absolutely. So I want to go back first to saying that I hope this puts some heat on both South Carolina and Wyoming, which again are the only states not to pass their own hate crimes legislation on the basis of gender identity. But to your point, we've seen a really alarming spike in violence against the LGBTQ+ community. Just to take one statistic, since last year, hate crimes on the basis of gender identity have spiked by 37%. So this is completely untoward and unacceptable. And I hope that this national spotlight that you're giving this case also leads to more care, both with regard to how we treat each other in our day-to-day lives with regard to these issues, but also, frankly, in more prosecution and more enforcement of these hate crime statutes, both at the federal and state levels.
All right. Professor Kenji Yoshino, thank you so much for joining us this morning and kind of walking us through this landmark case. We appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
All right, coming up, we've got some tough news for travelers, something that's going to mean you got to pay a little bit more sometimes to fly.
American Airlines is hiking baggage fees, and it's not the only carrier to do that. So how much more can you expect to pay for your next getaway? Our Tom Costello has the details next.
Welcome back, travelers. Beware. It's now getting more expensive to fly. American Airlines has announced they are increasing how much they'll charge you for checking your luggage. So are other airlines following suit? We've got NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello on the case for us from Reagan National Airport in Arlington, Virginia. Hey, Tom, good morning.
Hey, listen, don't shoot the messenger, please. But here's the story. Guess what? It is no coincidence. Airfares dropped over the past 12 months. Dropped. But guess what? American Airlines made $1 billion in revenue just off bag fees. So they're hiking the bag fees just in time for families who are booking and boarding for spring break. But don't forget, your bag also goes round trip.
Just in time for spring break and effective immediately, American Airlines is charging more to check luggage. $35 for the first checked bag if in advance paid online. $40 if paying at the airport, up from the current $30 baggage fee. The second checked bag will cost $45, a $5 increase. American is also charging more for checked bags to Canada and Mexico. But passengers can avoid the luggage fees if they hold elite status with American's loyalty program, buy a premium class ticket, or use an American branded credit card.
So this definitely can impact not only just the average consumer wallet, but it really hits home for families that are traveling with multiple bags.
And there's another change. Starting on May 1st, American says customers will only earn frequent flyer points if they buy tickets directly from American or a preferred online travel agency. In an email to customers, American says when you book directly with American, you enjoy the best possible travel experience. To check or not to check has been the debate for years.
We'd now like to welcome any travelers with carry-ons that have no chance of fitting in the overhead compartment.
It'll fit. Oh, it'll fit.
With many passengers packing everything into carry-ons. So will other airlines follow American in hiking luggage fees? Delta now charges $30 for the first bag. United charges $30 in advance. Alaska and JetBlue just raised their prices to $35. At Spirit, $44 is the cheapest fee, while bags still fly free on Southwest.
The airline industry is a copycat industry where usually when you see one airline change a policy, you're likely to see other airlines do the same. As more and more passengers return to travel, airlines are really raking it in terms of baggage fees and other fees.
Yeah. So listen, we talked about airfares dropping over the past 12 months, down 6%. So, of course, airlines looking for ways to raise money. One way I want to underscore how you can limit how much you pay to check your bag. Check that bag online in advance from home, not at the airport. This will cost you more. Back to you guys.
But Tom, it feels like families who try to save money when traveling, they do just end up paying more and more.
You know what? If you go for the cheapest ticket, on a whole bunch of airlines, you may get charged for leg room, for an aisle seat, for a window seat. Of course, you may be paying for the Wi-Fi, for your food, for your drinks, right? For your luggage. Some even are charging for carry-ons. So you've got to decide when you're buying that ticket, do you want to buy a more expensive ticket that may include some of those items, or do you want to go a la carte? And for people on a budget, that can really add up.
Oh, Tom, you've got me fired up about this. Thanks for the latest. We understand you are only delivering the information.
Thank you.
All right, let's get some more money news. A new billion-dollar lawsuit is landing at the feet of several major media titans.
CNBC's Silvana Henao has that and other financial headlines. Hey, Silvana.
Hey, Savannah. Hey, Joe. Good morning to you. All right. Fubo TV is suing Disney, Fox, and Warner Brothers Discovery to block their planned sports streaming service, which is expected to launch this fall. Now, Fubo says the joint venture would give the companies less incentive to make their channels available on other distributors, and they could charge above market rates. Disney, ESPN, Fox, and Warner Brothers aren't commenting on the lawsuit. Axios says league partners, including the NFL and NBA, are reportedly angry with the networks for being left out of the planning process. Disney has struck a deal for Sony to take over the bulk of its DVD and Blu-ray sales. Bloomberg reports Disney is shifting to a licensed model under which Sony will sell and distribute discs to retailers. The DVD business is shrinking as people watch more content online. Revenue from physical home entertainment fell 25% last year, while digital purchases rose almost 20%. Sales of VHS tape and DVDs were once a big business for Disney, but now nearly all its catalog is available on Disney+. And don't put your wet iPhone in a bag of rice. That's the official guidance now from Apple's tech support, contrary to popular advice and long-held belief. The company also says avoid using an external heat source like a hairdryer, and don't insert a cotton swab or paper towel into the charging port. Instead, Apple suggests tapping your phone against your hand, kind of like how to get water out of your ear, then leave it out to dry for 30 minutes before charging it. It can take up to 24 hours for the iPhone to get really dry. Yeah. But I guess that depends on how wet it got, because what if, you know what I mean?
Don't even think two hands would work for the number of times I've stuck it in rice.
Right?
Yeah.
Same.
We all do that.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks, Savannah. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Los Angeles Dodgers star Mookie Betts is gearing up for a new baseball season with spring training underway. But this season, Betts isn't just a star on the diamond. He's also championing a sport where striking out is encouraged. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky explains.
Mookie Betts is in a league all his own, with a swing that's pure baseball, and swagger in another sport entirely, where 3 strikes is celebrated.
Bowling's in my blood.
You really did pick up a bowling ball before baseball.
Yeah, way before.
That's right. The LA Dodger, 7-time All-Star and 2-time World Series champ, says some of that baseball success started in a bowling alley.
Bowling is so complex. It's like you have to be creative. A lot of visualization when it comes to bowling, just like baseball.
He credits the sport with keeping a competitive edge, even wowing fans at the World Series of bowling.
300 game.
Rolling so many perfect games since.
How often are you calling saying, hey, babe, leave the bowling alley?
He and his wife Brianna now using both sports to give back, creating the 50-50 Foundation to help inner-city children.
I get to do two things I love, bowl and raise money to help others.
And as we can attest, that isn't just a talented bowler.
Fingers in, and you just spin it.
He may have a Hall of Fame future in coaching, too.
Here we go. Oh!
Don't think, just do.
For now, the MLB All-Stars focus is back to spring training. But rest assured, Bet's eye is always on the ball. Morgan Chesky, NBC News.
Oh, 9. All right.
I'm so bad at bowling. Are you good at it? If there aren't bumpers, it's like a joke. I'm just like, there you go. It's like I was trying for the gutter. Anyway, coming up, an icon of comedy taking on a Shakespearean tragedy.
After the break, my conversation with the legendary Eddie Izzard on her one-person version of Shakespeare's Hamlet right here in New York, and on being a transgender trailblazer for 40 years. That's next on Morning News Now.
We're back with not one, but 4 big films that are sure to make Beatles fans twist and shout. That's right. A biopic is in the works for each member of the Fab Four, showing their point of view of the band's rise to stardom and some of the difficulties along the way. Oscar-winning director Sam Mendes will be directing all 4 films. Mendes worked on films like 1917, American Beauty, and Skyfall. This will be the first time that Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and then the families of John Lennon and George Harrison have granted full rights to a film including original music. But it'll be a long and winding road before we get to see the films. They're not set to hit theaters until 2027. What an undertaking.
No kidding. How cool is that going to be?
Very.
Looking forward to that. All right.
By Sam Mendes. Amazing.
Thanks, Savannah. Now to our series, Flipping the Script, featuring people on air, on stage, and behind the scenes, shining a spotlight on diversity. Enter Eddie Izzard, the legendary comedian who rose to fame with hilarious, quotable stand-up specials, is now tackling a serious role, Hamlet, and she's doing it all by herself, a one-person show happening now in New York. Izzard, who uses she, her pronouns, came out as transgender nearly 40 years ago and believes that being gender fluid helps her portray so many different roles.
Hamlet. Horatio.
Why would one performer want to tackle 23 different characters? That is the question.
I do believe a number of people around the world, and say particularly in New York, say, this is different, we'll give you a chance.
A year after a successful solo run of Charles Dickens' Great Expectations, Eddie Izzard is turning her gaze to Shakespeare, doing Hamlet all by herself.
Though this be madness, yet there is method in it.
The original play, Shakespeare's longest, is 29,551 words. Izzard's version, adapted by her brother Mark, is shorter, about 13 to 15,000 words, giving a little method to such madness.
It's a great big silence you can feel towards the end that even a pin would be embarrassed to make a noise when dropping.
23 characters, though, that is hard to differentiate, because you don't want to go into like caricature either, where you're like...
No, that's very true. And I want to do honor as a trans woman, and a gender fluid person, I want to do honor between the male and female characters.
Izzard came out as transgender in 1985. Just last year, she posted, "As people may now well know, I have added the name Susie to my name. So going forward, I am preferring Susie, but I don't mind Eddie, and I prefer she, her, but I don't mind he, him. So no one can really get it wrong unless they call me Kenneth or Sabrina. I am remaining Eddie Izzard in public."
You can't claim us, we live here. 500 million of us. Do you have a flag?
No stranger to a challenge, Izzard performs comedy routines in 4 languages.
No. They didn't sort of link chronologique.
Oh yeah, and she's an ultra marathoner doing more than 130 marathons since 2009 to raise money for charity. More recently, she ran for British Parliament, falling short but promising to try again.
What is the driving force for running for parliament? Why is that something that...
Well, I do think I have certain things. I think comedy, which is one of my tools, not being used hardly at all in Hamlet, is not actually very good for politics. But I have other skills which maybe come out through running multiple marathons, being very determined, coming out as trans, which I know is a hot button issue at the moment. And I would like to be a member of parliament in the British Parliament, even though I love my creative career. I love what I'm doing now. But I feel I have to go and fight for everyone to have a fair chance in life.
You said the trans issues are a hot button issue right now. You've been a trailblazer for 40 years. What is it like now compared with what you've seen over the years?
Well, there's an interesting thing on being trans. People might say, oh, there's a lot of very angry talk about it. When I first came out, there was no talk about it. Things I feel are a lot better, even though it's very tough at the moment. It is better, and if we keep being open and truthful and trying to be understanding, I think we can head forwards in what I consider a positive direction.
You know you've been an inspiration to a lot of people, right?
Well, I try to inspire myself. That's my thing. I wanted to do things in life that made me go, who did that? That's amazing. Oh, that's me. Oh, that's all right. All right, I'm okay. I can look me in the mirror. I just thought, well, no one's really going to help me. I'm going to go out and fight for all this. I fight for what I can and see where I can get to.
Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. For now, it got her to Hamlet, sword fighting herself and performing alone for 2+ hours. A different kind of marathon. Our thanks to Eddie for taking the time to speak with us. This production of Hamlet is an off-Broadway run, has already been extended twice, running through March 16th. You can catch it at the Greenwich Theater. Shakespeare fans are loving it because it's such a different interpretation of it. So.
I was just telling you, I've never seen a one-person show, which just really blows my mind.
It's fascinating, yeah. So,
a lot of talent.
All right, that's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.